The cargo ship touched down on Meridian 7 with a soft hiss. Hyen-Woo stretched in his pilot's seat and looked out at the massive trade station through the viewport. He had been flying cargo routes for 3 years now, and stations like this one always amazed him. Meridian 7 floated in neutral space between human territory and the Veltharian Empire. It was huge, spinning slowly against the stars. He checked his delivery manifest on the small screen beside him. Medical supplies for the frontier colonies? Nothing fancy, nothing dangerous. Just the usual run that helped him pay the bills and send money back home to his sister. She was studying medicine on Earth, and the tuition was expensive. Someone had to help her. Hyen-Woo grabbed his jacket and headed out of his ship. The docking bay was busy with beings from a dozen different species. He saw the tall, blue-skinned Veltharians moving through the crowd. They walked like they owned the place, their heads held high. Their empire was old and powerful, with technology that made human ships look like toys. Today was special, though. Hyen-Woo had heard the rumors. Peace talks were happening between humans and Veltharians. After years of cold tension and small conflicts, both sides were finally talking. The station was full of diplomats and security forces. Nari stood near the diplomatic section, her hand resting on her weapon. She was a Veltharian officer, assigned to protect her people's delegation during the talks. Her violet eyes scanned the crowd constantly, looking for threats. To her, most species in the galaxy were weak or chaotic. Humans especially puzzled her. They had no natural weapons, no thick skin, no great strength. Yet somehow they had survived in a dangerous galaxy. She watched a human pilot walk past, carrying a datapad. He looked ordinary. Average height, dark hair, tired eyes. Just another human trying to make a living. Nari turned her attention back to her duties. The talks were important, and she would not fail in her mission. The explosion changed everything. The blast came from the station's central hub, loud enough to shake the walls. Alarms started screaming. Red lights flashed everywhere. Nari's communication device crackled with panicked voices. Her commander was shouting orders, but the signal was breaking up. "Crawl mercenaries," someone screamed over the radio. "They're sealing the sections. They're hunting the delegations." Nari felt her blood run cold. The Crawl were brutal fighters, reptilian warriors who sold their services to the highest bidder. They stood 8 feet tall with natural armor on their bodies. Their claws could tear through metal. Worse, they could heal from almost any wound. Fighting them was nearly impossible without heavy weapons. More explosions rocked the station. Nari tried to reach her commander again, but her radio was dead. Someone was jamming communications. The Crawl were professionals. They had planned this attack well. She ran toward the diplomatic section, but a blast door slammed down in front of her. She was cut off. Nari cursed in her own language and looked around. She was in the commercial district now, trapped with dozens of civilians. Most of them were panicking, running in different directions. "Everyone, calm down," Nari shouted. Her training took over. Even separated from her unit, she was still a soldier. Find cover. Stay quiet. The civilians listened to her voice of authority. They ducked behind cargo containers and inside shops. Nari counted about 20 people around her. Most were merchants and traders. A few were other species she did not recognize. And there, helping an elderly alien to safety, was that human pilot she had seen earlier. Hyen-Woo had been checking his cargo delivery when the explosion happened. His first instinct was not to run, but to help. He saw people falling, panicking, getting hurt in the chaos. He grabbed whoever he could and pulled them to safety. Now he found himself in a sealed section with a Veltharian officer and a group of scared civilians. He could hear something moving in the corridors beyond. Something big. Something that made a clicking, hissing sound. "Crawl," Nari whispered. She checked her weapon. Only half a charge left. Not nearly enough for what was coming. The clicking grew louder. Through the smoke and dim emergency lights, Hyen-Woo saw it. A Crawl warrior, massive and terrifying, stepped into the commercial district. Its scales gleamed under the red alarm lights. Its eyes swept across the area, looking for prey. Nari raised her weapon, but Hyen-Woo put a hand on her arm. Wait, he whispered. If you fire, it will know exactly where we are. She looked at him, surprised. Most civilians would be frozen in fear by now. But this human was thinking tactically. His eyes were moving, studying the environment, looking for options. We need to get to the command center, Nari said quietly. Other survivors will gather there, but we have to go through 3 sections. And there are at least 3 crawl hunting these areas. Then we need to move smart, Hyun-woo replied. He pointed to a cargo bay entrance nearby. Service corridors. They run through the whole station. The crawl are big. They will not fit easily in tight spaces. Nari studied him again. He was right. The service corridors were meant for maintenance workers and cargo drones. A warrior culture like the crawl would not think to use them. They preferred direct confrontation. You know the station layout? She asked. I have been docking here for years, Hyun-woo said. I know every shortcut. Helps save time and docking fees. The crawl warrior moved closer. It had not spotted them yet, but it would soon. Nari made a decision. She gestured to the civilians. Follow us. Stay quiet. Stay close. They moved as a group toward the service entrance. Hyun-woo led the way, his datapad showing a rough map of the station. Behind them, they heard the crawl roar. It had found their hiding spots empty. The hunt had begun. As they slipped into the narrow corridor, Nari took one last look at the human pilot. He moved with purpose, not panic. His hands were steady despite the danger. For someone who was not a soldier, he was remarkably calm. Perhaps humans were more interesting than she had thought. The service corridor stretched ahead, dark and tight. Somewhere in the station, 3 crawl warriors were hunting. And between here and safety were a dozen ways to die, but Hyun-woo kept moving forward, helping civilians over obstacles, checking corners before they advanced. Nari found herself following his lead, trusting his knowledge of the station. She hoped that trust was not misplaced, because very soon they would have no choice but to fight, and when that moment came, she would see what humans were truly made of. The service corridor was dark and narrow. Emergency lights flickered every few meters, casting strange shadows on the metal walls. Hyun-woo led the group carefully, checking his datapad every few steps. Behind him, 20 civilians followed in frightened silence. Nari brought up the rear, her weapon ready. They had been moving for 10 minutes when Hyun-woo stopped. He held up his hand for silence. Everyone froze. What is it? Nari whispered. The cargo bay ahead, Hyun-woo said quietly. It is the fastest route to the command center, but it is also wide open. If a crawl is waiting there, we are trapped. Then we go around, Nari suggested. Hyun-woo shook his head. The other routes take an hour. We do not have that time. Station life support was damaged in the explosions. We need to reach command before oxygen levels drop too low. Nari understood. They had to take the risk. She moved to the front of the group. I will go first. My weapon can handle 1 crawl if we are lucky. But as they emerged into the cargo bay, luck was not with them. The crawl warrior was already there, as if it had been waiting. It stood near a pile of cargo containers, its massive head turning toward them. The creature was even bigger up close, its scales thick as armor plates. Its claws extended, each one as long as Hyun-woo's hand. The civilians screamed. Sun tried to run back into the corridor, but it was too narrow. They would be crushed trying to escape. Nari raised her weapon and fired. The energy bolt hit the crawl in the chest, making it stumble back. But the wound was already closing, the creature's regeneration working fast. She fired again and again, but each shot only slowed it down. Not enough charge, she cursed. Her weapon was dying. The crawl roared and charged toward them. Its massive feet shook the floor. Nari prepared to fight hand to hand, knowing she would probably die. Veltharians were strong, but not strong enough for this. Then Hyun-woo stepped in front of her. Get everyone to the other side, he said calmly. I will hold it here. You? Nari stared at him. You are unarmed. You are human. You will die in seconds. Maybe, Hyun-woo said. But seconds are what you need. Before she could argue, he ran forward. Not toward safety, but toward the crawl. Nari had seen many warriors in her life. She had trained with the best fighters in the Valtharian military, but she had never seen anyone fight like this human did. Hyun-woo did not try to match the crawl's strength. He could not. Instead, he used everything around him. The cargo bay was designed for moving heavy containers, so there were chains hanging from the ceiling, loading equipment scattered around, and cargo nets piled in corners. When the crawl swung its massive claw at him, Hyun-woo dove under it. He grabbed a loose chain and swung it at the creature's eyes. The crawl flinched, giving Hyun-woo time to roll away. "Keep moving," he shouted to Nari. "Go." Nari wanted to help, but the civilians needed her. She made the hard choice and started leading them across the bay toward the far exit. But she could not stop watching the fight. The crawl was getting angry. It lunged at Hyun-woo with both claws extended. Hyun-woo jumped behind a cargo container. The crawl's claws tore through the metal like paper. But Hyun-woo had already moved, using a loading crane's control panel to swing a heavy crate into the creature's side. The impact would have killed a human. The crawl barely felt it. But it bought more seconds. Hyun-woo kept moving, never staying in one place. His eyes were constantly scanning, looking for anything he could use. When the crawl destroyed the cargo containers, he used the broken metal pieces as weapons. When those broke, he used the environment itself. The cargo bay had low gravity controls for moving heavy items. Hyun-woo found the panel and activated it. Suddenly, the crawl was lighter, its movements awkward in the reduced gravity. Hyun-woo used this advantage, pushing off walls and containers to move in ways the crawl could not follow, but he was getting tired. Nari could see it. The human was breathing hard now. Blood ran down his side where a claw had caught him. His shoulder looked wrong, probably dislocated. Yet he kept fighting. The crawl adapted to the low gravity and caught Hyun-woo with a backhanded blow. He flew across the bay and crashed into a wall. Nari thought he was finished, but Hyun-woo stood up. Slowly, painfully, but he stood. "Why will you not die?" The crawl hissed in broken common language. Hyun-woo did not answer. He was looking at something above them. Nari followed his gaze. The ceiling. It had support beams and panels that could be loosened. The explosions earlier had already damaged some of them. The crawl charged again, tired of playing with its prey. Hyun-woo ran, but not away. He ran toward the maintenance ladder on the wall. The crawl followed, thinking it had the human trapped. Hyun-woo climbed fast despite his injuries. When he reached the ceiling level, he started hitting the damaged panels with a piece of broken metal. Once, twice, 3 times. The crawl jumped up after him, its powerful legs carrying it high. It grabbed Hyun-woo's leg, ready to pull him down and finish this. Then Hyun-woo hit the panel one more time. The damaged section of ceiling gave way. Panels, support beams, and metal debris came crashing down. The crawl, caught mid-jump, took the full impact. It fell to the floor under tons of material. Hyun-woo fell too, landing hard on a cargo net that barely broke his fall. He lay there, gasping for air, unable to move. Nari ran to him. The last of the civilians had made it across. They were safe for now. She knelt beside the human, checking his injuries. Broken ribs, dislocated shoulder, cuts all over his body. He should be unconscious. He should be dead, but his eyes were still open, still alert. "Is everyone okay?" he asked. Nari stared at him in amazement. He had just fought a crawl warrior unarmed and won. And his first question was about others. Behind them, the pile of debris moved. The crawl was still alive, trying to dig itself out. Its regeneration would save it eventually. "We need to go," Nari said. She helped Hyun-woo to his feet, letting him lean on her. "Can you walk?" "I can run if I have to," he said with a weak smile. They moved toward the exit where the civilians waited. As they walked, Nari looked at Hyun-woo with new eyes. She had spent her whole life among warriors. She had seen bravery, skill, and strength. But she had never seen someone turn weakness into strength like this human did. He had no claws, no armor, no regeneration. But he had something else. Something dangerous. He had the ability to make anything around him into a weapon. He had the will to keep fighting when fighting seemed impossible. In her language, there was an old phrase. Warriors said it when they saw someone exceptional, someone they wished fought for their cause. Nari whispered it now, so quietly that even Hyanwu could not hear. I wish he was mine. She did not fully understand why she said it. But watching this human fight with nothing but his mind and his will had changed something in her. Humans were not weak. They were something far more dangerous. They were survivors, and survivors, Nari was beginning to realize, could be the most terrifying warriors of all. They moved through the station corridors as fast as they could. Hyanwu's injuries slowed him down, but he refused to stop. Nari kept close to him, ready to support him if he fell. The civilians followed behind, quieter now after witnessing the fight in the cargo bay. We are getting close to the command center, Hyanwu said, checking his datapad. 2 more sections. Nari nodded, but she was worried. The crawl in the cargo bay would recover soon and report their position. And there were still 2 more crawl warriors hunting somewhere in the station. We need a plan, she said. We cannot fight our way through 2 more of those creatures. Hyanwu stopped walking and looked around. They were in a maintenance junction where several corridors met. His eyes moved over every detail, thinking. We do not fight them directly, he said. We make them fight us on our terms. Look at this junction. See those pipes? Nari looked up. Large pipes ran along the ceiling, carrying coolant and other station systems. What about them? They are under pressure. If we rupture one at the right time, the spray will freeze anything nearby. It will not kill a crawl, but it will slow them down. Hyanwu pointed to other features. Those doors can be sealed manually. The gravity controls are accessible here. And see that stack of containers? They are marked as industrial adhesive. If we spread it on the floor, it will trap anything that steps in it. Nari looked at him with growing respect. You want to turn this junction into a trap. Into many traps, Hyanwu corrected. We know they are coming. Let us make them regret it. For the next few minutes, they worked together. Hyanwu directed the civilians to help set up the traps. They opened the adhesive containers and spread the thick liquid across certain paths. They loosened bolts on the pressure pipes. They positioned heavy objects to fall at the right moment. Nari found herself following his instructions without question. In Veltharian culture, warriors were proud. They did not take orders from untrained civilians. But Hyanwu was not giving orders. He was showing them how to survive. And survival had no pride. They are coming, one of the civilians whispered. I hear something. Everyone hid. Nari crouched behind a control panel with Hyanwu beside her. His breathing was labored from the pain of his injuries, but his eyes were focused. 2 crawl warriors entered the junction from different corridors. They moved carefully, learning from what happened to their companion. Their eyes scanned for threats. The first crawl stepped into the adhesive. Its foot stuck immediately. The creature growled and tried to pull free, but the industrial adhesive was designed to hold tons of weight. The more it struggled, the more stuck it became. The second crawl roared and charged toward their hiding spot. Hyanwu hit a control button. The gravity in that section reversed for 3 seconds. The charging crawl suddenly flew upward, slamming into the ceiling. When gravity returned to normal, it crashed back down. Disoriented, Nari fired her weapon at the fallen crawl. Her weapon was still low on charge, but the shots kept the creature off balance. Hyanwu ran to the pressure pipe he had loosened and kicked it hard. The pipe burst, spraying super-cold coolant over the stuck crawl. Ice formed instantly on its scales, slowing its movements even more, but the other crawl recovered quickly. It jumped toward Hyanwu, claws extended. There was no time to dodge. Nari threw herself between them. Her armor absorbed some of the impact, but the claws still tore through, wounding her side. She fell hard, her weapon sliding across the floor. Nari! Hyanwu shouted. The crawl stood over her, ready to finish what it started. But Hyanwu grabbed a piece of broken pipe and swung it at the creature's head. It was not a trained strike. It was desperate and wild. But it worked. The crawl turned its attention from Nari to this annoying human. Nari watched through pain-blurred eyes as Hyunwoo fought. He was already injured, already exhausted. But he kept moving, kept adapting. When the crawl lunged, he used the door controls to seal a blast door on its arm, trapping it for precious seconds. When it broke free, he used cables to tangle its legs. It was not beautiful combat. It was messy, desperate, and brutal. But it was effective. The frozen crawl was breaking free from the ice. They were running out of time. Nari forced herself to stand, ignoring the pain in her side. She retrieved her weapon and fired the last of its charge into the trapped crawl's head. The creature fell, unconscious but still alive. Hyunwoo was still fighting the other one. Nari ran to help him. Together they used every trick they had. Finally, they managed to seal it inside a storage room using the emergency lockdown controls. The door would not hold forever, but it gave them time. Both of them collapsed against a wall, breathing hard. Blood dripped from their wounds. The civilians emerged from hiding, their faces pale with shock. "Can you move?" Hyunwoo asked Nari. "Can you?" She replied. They looked at each other and laughed. It hurt to laugh, but the absurdity of their situation struck them both. They were barely alive, wounded and exhausted, but they were still fighting. Why do humans fight like this? Nari asked suddenly. You have no natural weapons. No armor, no regeneration. Every fight should kill you. Yet you keep finding ways to win. Hyunwoo was quiet for a moment. Because we have to, he finally said. Humans were not built for the stars. We came from a world where everything was trying to kill us. Predators, disease, weather, other humans. We survived by being smarter, by adapting, by using tools. When we reached space, we found out the galaxy was just as dangerous. So we kept doing what we always did. We learned. We adapted. We used what we had. But it is more than that, Nari said. I have seen desperation before. This is something else. You fight like you have something to protect. Hyunwoo nodded. My sister is studying medicine on Earth. She wants to help people in the frontier colonies. I fly cargo to pay for her education. If I die here, she loses her chance. All those people waiting for medical supplies lose their chance. I fight because people are depending on me. Not just today, but always. Nari understood now. Veltharian warriors fought for honor, for glory, for their empire. They were raised from birth to be soldiers. But this human was not a soldier. He was a brother, a cargo pilot, an ordinary person who became extraordinary, because others needed him to be, that made him more dangerous than any warrior she had ever met. Because warriors could give up if the battle was lost. But someone fighting for others could never give up. They would find a way, no matter what. One more section, Hyunwoo said, standing up slowly. Then we reached the command center. Nari took his offered hand and stood. They gathered the civilians and moved forward together. Behind them, they could hear the locked crawl pounding on the door. Ahead, unknown dangers waited. But Nari felt something she had not felt before. She felt grateful. Grateful that this human was fighting beside her. Grateful that she had seen what humanity really meant, and somewhere deep in her mind that phrase echoed again. I wish he was mine. She was beginning to understand what it truly meant. The command center doors opened before them, and suddenly they were surrounded by armed security forces. Weapons pointed at them until someone recognized Nari's uniform. Officer Nari, a Veltharian guard said with relief. We thought you were dead. Not yet, she replied, helping Hyunwoo inside. The civilians rushed past them, grateful to finally be safe. The command center was crowded with survivors from across the station. Humans, Veltharians, and several other species had gathered here. Medical teams moved among the wounded. Communication officers worked frantically to restore contact with ships outside the station. Commander Taejin, the leader of the Veltharian diplomatic delegation, saw Nari and hurried over. He was a veteran officer with scars crossing his blue skin. His eyes widened when he saw her injuries. Report, he ordered. Nari explained what had happened. The crawl attack, their journey through the station, the traps they set. As she talked, Taejin's eyes kept moving to Hyun-woo, who was sitting against a wall while a medic treated his wounds. This human fought crawl warriors unarmed? Taejin asked, disbelief clear in his voice. He did more than fight them, Nari said. He understood them. He turned the station itself into a weapon. Without him, those civilians would be dead. I would be dead. A human officer joined them. Her name was Dae-yoon, and she commanded the station's security forces. We have a bigger problem, she said grimly. The Crawl have taken control of 3 major sections. They are holding them with explosives. If we try to storm those sections, they will blow them up and kill everyone still trapped there. How many hostages? Taejin asked. Over 200, Dae-yoon replied, including most of the diplomatic delegations. The room fell silent. This was worse than anyone thought. The Crawl were not just attacking. They were making sure the peace talks would fail, and they were willing to kill hundreds to do it. We need to restore communications, Taejin said. Call for reinforcements. Already working on it, Dae-yoon said. But even if we get a message out, reinforcements are hours away. We do not have hours. Hyun-woo stood up, wincing from his bandaged injuries. Can I see a map of the station? Dae-yoon looked at him with surprise. Who are you? He is the reason we are alive, Nari said firmly. Show him the map. Dae-yoon hesitated, then brought up a holographic display of the station. The seized sections glowed red. Hyun-woo studied it carefully, his tired eyes moving over every detail. These sections, he said, pointing. They are all connected to the central power grid. The Crawl need power for their equipment, their charges, their communication jammers. So? Taejin asked. So we cut the power, Hyun-woo said. The backup systems will keep life support running, but everything else goes dark. No lights, no communication jamming, no electronic locks on their explosives. The explosives are on mechanical triggers too, Yoon argued. They can still blow them manually. But they will be blind, Hyun-woo countered. And we know this station. We can move through it in the dark. They cannot. We create chaos, we separate them, we take them down one at a time. Taejin frowned. That is not honorable combat. That is ambush and trickery. That is survival, Hyun-woo said bluntly. Do you want honor, or do you want to save those hostages? The Valtharian commander's face darkened. He was not used to being spoken to this way, especially by an unarmed human civilian. But Nari stepped forward. Commander, I have fought beside this human. I have seen what he can do. His methods are unconventional, but they work. We should listen to him. Taejin looked at Nari for a long moment. She was one of his best officers, not prone to praise or exaggeration. If she vouched for this human, there must be a reason. Very well, he said reluctantly. What do you propose? For the next hour, they planned. Hyun-woo's knowledge of the station proved invaluable. He knew which corridors had manual override controls. He knew where maintenance teams kept emergency equipment. He knew the blind spots in the security system. More importantly, he understood something the Crawl did not. Stations like Meridian 7 were designed by engineers, not warriors. They had thousands of small features that could be exploited by someone who knew how dot teams were organized. Each one had a specific target. They would move simultaneously once the power went out. The goal was not to fight the Crawl directly, but to disrupt them, confuse them, and rescue the hostages while they were disoriented. As they prepared, Nari found herself watching Hyun-woo. Despite his exhaustion and pain, he worked tirelessly. He answered questions, drew diagrams, and helped people understand the plan. He never complained about his injuries. He never asked for rest. You should sit down, she told him. Let others handle this now. I will sit when everyone is safe, he replied with a tired smile. Why do you care so much? Nari asked. These are not your people. This is not your station. You could hide here in the command center until help arrives. No one would blame you. Hyun-woo looked at her with those steady eyes. My sister wants to be a doctor because she believes every life matters. If I do not believe that too, then what am I working for? These people matter. These hostages matter. I have to help if I can. Nari felt something shift inside her. In Veltharian culture, warriors were respected above all others. Strength and combat skill determined worth. But this human was showing her a different kind of strength. The strength to care. The strength to keep helping even when you were broken and bleeding. Before she could respond, alarms blared. The communication officer shouted in panic. Incoming transmission from the crawl. The main screen flickered to life. A massive crawl warrior appeared, bigger than the others they had fought. Scars covered his scales and his eyes burned with fierce intelligence. This was their leader. Defenders of Meridian 7, the crawl leader growled. I am Vornak, commander of this mission. Your situation is simple. I challenge your strongest warrior to single combat. If they defeat me, we will surrender and release all hostages. If they refuse, we detonate all charges and everyone dies. He is lying, Yoon said. He will blow the charges anyway. No, Taejin said slowly. Crawl follow the old warrior codes. If he makes this challenge, he will honor it. His pride demands it. But can anyone here defeat him? Taeyoon asked. Look at the size of that creature. He is twice as big as the crawl we have encountered. Everyone looked at Taejin. He was the strongest Veltharian present, a warrior with decades of experience. But even he seemed uncertain. Vornak was legendary among crawl warriors. Fighting him was suicide. I will accept, Taejin said finally. I am the ranking Veltharian officer. It is my duty. No, a quiet voice said. Everyone turned. Henwu stepped forward. I will fight him, the human said. Absolutely not, Nari said immediately. You are injured. You are exhausted. You are not even trained for this. Neither was I trained for the last 3 fights, Hyunwoo replied calmly. But I am still here. And I know something you do not. What? Taejin demanded. I have been fighting Crawl for hours now. I have learned how they move, how they think, what their weaknesses are. That Vornak does not know me. He does not know humans. He will underestimate me, just like all the others did. That is not enough, Nari said, her voice pleading. He will kill you. Hanwoo looked at her, and she saw something in his eyes. Not arrogance, not bravery, just quiet acceptance of what needed to be done. Maybe, he said softly. But if he kills Taejin, you lose your commander. You lose the peace talks. You lose everything. If he kills me, you only lose a cargo pilot. That is a trade worth making? No, Nari whispered. But she knew the logic was sound. And she could see in Taejin's eyes that he knew it too. I accept your challenge, Vornak, Hyunwoo called out to the screen. Human against Crawl, single combat. Vornak's eyes gleamed with amusement. A human? This will be quick. Tell me where and when, Hyunwoo said. The main cargo bay. 1 hour, come alone and unarmed. The screen went dark. Nari grabbed Hyunwoo's arm. You cannot do this, please. He covered her hand with his. Someone has to. And I have the best chance. Trust me, she wanted to argue more. She wanted to forbid it. But she had no authority over him. And deep down, she knew he was right. All she could do was whisper again, I wish he was mine. This time, she knew exactly what it meant. The main cargo bay was enormous, easily the size of 3 football fields. Survivors from across the station gathered on the upper viewing platforms, watching in tense silence. Security forces stood ready, though they could not interfere. The rules of challenge were absolute. Hyunwoo walked into the center of the bay alone. His injuries had been treated as much as possible in the short time available. His ribs were wrapped, his shoulder relocated and braced. But he still moved with pain. Every step hurt. Vornak waited for him, standing like a mountain of scaled muscle. The crawl leader was even more terrifying up close. Old scars crossed his body, evidence of countless battles survived. His claws were longer than any crawl they had fought before. You are brave to accept, human, Vornak said. His voice was surprisingly clear. Or very stupid. Maybe both, Haiyan Wu replied, looking around the bay. He was studying the environment again, noting every feature, every potential advantage. Nari watched from the viewing platform, her hands gripping the railing so hard her knuckles turned pale. Beside her, Taejin stood with his arms crossed. Other Veltharians watched with curiosity. They had never seen a human fight a crawl in formal combat. "He will die quickly," one Veltharian officer muttered. "Do not be so certain," Taejin replied quietly. "Nari says this human is full of surprises." The challenge began without ceremony. Vornek charged, faster than any crawl they had fought before. His massive body moved with terrible grace. Haiyan Wu barely dodged, rolling to the side. Vornek's claws tore through the metal floor where he had been standing. The crawl leader did not pause. He spun and attacked again, a flurry of strikes that Haiyan Wu could barely avoid. This was different from before. Vornek was not just strong and fast. He was skilled. He had fought for decades, learning from every battle. Haiyan Wu backpedaled, using cargo containers for cover. Vornek smashed through them like they were paper. The human was being driven back, unable to mount any offense. "Is this the best humans can do?" Vornek taunted. "You survived my warriors through luck and tricks? But there are no tricks that will save you from me." Haiyan Wu did not reply. He was breathing hard, his mind racing. Vornek was right. The tactics that worked before would not work now. This crawl had seen too much, fought too many battles. He would anticipate every environmental trick. So Haiyan Wu stopped trying to trick him. Instead, he changed his approach. He stopped running and started studying. Every time Vornek attacked, Haiyan Wu watched how he moved. The slight pause before a left claw strike. The way his weight shifted before a charge. The pattern of his breathing. He took hits doing this. Vornek's claws caught his leg, leaving deep cuts. Another strike sent him flying into a wall. But Haiyan Wu kept getting up, kept watching, kept learning. "You are tough, human," Vornek admitted. "But toughness is not enough." The crawl leader launched his most ferocious attack yet. But this time Haiyan Wu was ready. He had seen the pattern. When Vornek's right claw came down, Haiyan Wu was not where he expected. When the left claw followed, Haiyan Wu had already moved inside his reach. At close range, Vornek's size became a disadvantage. His claws could not angle properly. Haiyan Wu struck at the joints between scales, the softer tissue that even regeneration could not fully protect. His strikes were not powerful, but they were precise. Vornek roared in frustration and threw Haiyan Wu off him. The human hit the ground hard but rolled to his feet. Blood ran down his face from a cut above his eye, but he was smiling grimly. "You are learning," Vornek said with grudging respect. "But learning takes time. And you are running out of it." It was true. Haiyan Wu's body was failing. His vision blurred from blood loss. His leg barely supported his weight. But he had learned enough. He understood Vornek now. The crawl leader was proud. He had won hundreds of battles through superior strength and skill. That pride was his weakness. He expected opponents to fight his way, to match strength with strength, skill with skill, but Haiyan Wu was not going to give him that fight. He started using everything he had learned from the previous encounters. Not environmental tricks, but psychological ones. He feinted left, but went right. He pretended to stumble, then attacked when Vornek came to finish him. He made himself unpredictable, chaotic, refusing to follow any pattern. Vornek grew frustrated. This was not a proper duel. This human fought like a cornered animal, wild and desperate. There was no honor in it, no glory. "Stand and fight properly." Vornek roared. "No," Haiyan Wu said simply. That one word, that simple refusal, enraged Vornek more than anything. He charged recklessly, abandoning his careful technique. This was what Haiyan Wu had been waiting for. When Vornek lunged, Haiyan Wu dropped flat. The crawl leader stumbled over him, his momentum carrying him forward. Haiyan Wu kicked at Vornek's ankle as he passed. It was not a strong kick, but it was perfectly timed. Vornek fell, crashing face first into a metal support beam. The impact would have killed a human. Vornek just shook his head and started to rise. But Haiyan Wu was already moving. He grabbed a heavy chain from a cargo crane and wrapped it around Vornak's neck. Pulling tight, Vornak thrashed, his claws tearing at the chain. His strength was overwhelming, but Hyun-woo held on, using the crawl's own movements to tighten the chain further. He was not trying to strangle Vornak. He was buying time, making the crawl waste energy. "You cannot win this way," Vornak growled, even as he struggled. "I am stronger. I will break free." "I know," Hyun-woo gasped. "But you will be tired when you do." Vornak realized the truth. This human was not trying to win through strength. He was trying to outlast him. The regeneration that made crawl so dangerous also required enormous energy. Vornak had been fighting hard, healing from dozens of small injuries. That healing was draining him. With a final effort, Vornak broke the chain and threw Hyun-woo across the bay. The human hit the ground and did not get up immediately. He lay there, gasping for air, barely conscious. Vornak approached slowly, limping now. He was exhausted too. This fight had gone on far longer than he expected. The human should have died in the first minute. Instead, they had been fighting for almost 15 minutes. "You fought well, human," Vornak said, standing over him. "Better than most warriors I have faced. But this ends now." He raised his claw for the final strike. Hyun-woo's hand moved. He had been lying near a pile of cargo netting. With his last strength, he threw it over Vornak's head. It was not much of a weapon, but Vornak was tired, his reflexes slow. He stumbled back, trying to tear the netting away. That moment of distraction was all Hyun-woo needed. He drove his shoulder into Vornak's injured knee, the same leg he had kicked earlier. The joint gave way. Vornak fell, and Hyun-woo fell with him. They hit the ground together, both too exhausted to rise. For a long moment, neither moved, then Vornak started to laugh. It was a deep, rumbling sound that echoed through the bay. "You did not defeat me with strength," the crawl leader said. "You defeated me with stubbornness. You simply refused to die. That is very human of you. Is that a compliment?" Hyun-woo asked weakly. "It is," Vornak replied. "I surrender. You have won. The hostages will be released." The viewing platforms erupted in cheers. Medical teams rushed onto the floor. Nari was the first to reach Hyun-woo, dropping to her knees beside him. "You did it," she whispered, her eyes wet. "You actually did it. Told you to trust me," he said with a weak smile before passing out. The next hours were a blur. Reinforcements arrived. The crawl were taken into custody, with Vornak surprisingly cooperative. The hostages were freed, including the diplomatic delegations. The peace talks would continue. 3 days later, Hyun-woo woke up in the medical bay. His body was covered in bandages, but he was alive. Nari sat in a chair beside his bed. She had barely left his side. "How long was I out?" he asked. 3 days, she replied. "The doctor said you were lucky to be alive." Broken ribs, internal bleeding, severe exhaustion. "That does not feel lucky," he joked, then winced at the pain it caused. Nari was quiet for a moment. "I need to tell you something. When I watched you fight, I kept thinking a phrase in my language. It means I wish he was mine. It is what we say when we see a warrior we wish fought for our people." "Oh," Hyun-woo said, not sure how to respond. "But I realized something," Nari continued. "I was not thinking of you as a warrior for my people. I was thinking of you as—" She struggled for the words. "As someone I wanted beside me. Not as a soldier, but as ... more." Hyun-woo looked at her, seeing the vulnerability in her eyes. This proud Veltharian officer, trained from birth to show no weakness, was opening her heart to him. "I'm just a cargo pilot," he said softly. "When I heal, I will go back to my roots. Taking supplies to frontier worlds. Paying my sister's tuition. Living a boring life." "I do not think your life is boring," Nari said. "And the diplomatic delegations have agreed to a military exchange program. Officers from both our peoples will train together. I volunteered to be stationed in human space." "Why?" She smiled. "Because I wish to understand humans better. Especially one particular human. If he would welcome my company." Hyun-woo smiled back. "I think he would." Though I should warn you, cargo runs are very dull. After watching you fight 3 crawl warriors, I do not believe you know what dull means. Later, after Nari left to file her reports, Hyeonwoo looked out the window at the stars. His body hurt. He was tired. But he was